The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Once upon a time, there lived a young boy who tended sheep every day. This shepherd boy tended his master's sheep near a dark forest not far from the village. He would spend the days playing in the pasture, looking out for the sheep, singing, and at times taking small naps under a tree. After many months of the same, the shepherd boy soon found life in the pasture very dull. It was awfully quiet in the meadow, and other than the sheep, there was nothing much to see. Even the clouds gave him no interest. One day, as he sat watching the sheep, he began making up stories to amuse himself. What would he do should he see a wolf? Wolves were very common around the forest, yet for all the months he had watched the sheep, he did not see a single one. He thought of a plan anyway, a plan of what he would do when the day came that he should see a wolf creeping toward the sheep. His master had told him to call for help should a wolf attack the flock, and the villagers would drive it away. But he thought it would be much more interesting if he would swiftly swipe his staff across the air and run toward the wolf. Screaming and shouting and throwing stones, he would send that terrifying wolf back to where it came. Then he thought of a devious plan. Purely for amusement, of course. He had not seen anything that even looked like a wolf. But he slowly stood, smiling, and walked toward the village, quickening his pace in excitement and intrigue. By the time he reached the village, he was very nearly flying through the air. When he reached the village, he shouted at the top of his voice, "Wolf! Wolf! Come help!" As he expected, the villagers who heard the cry dropped their work and ran in great haste to the pasture. But when they got there, they found the boy doubled up with laughter at the trick he had played on them. Annoyed that the boy had disrupted their day, the villagers mumbled warnings and walked back to the village, swearing to inform his parents. Unbothered, the boy shrugged his shoulders and took a nap under his favorite tree. A few days later, the shepherd boy again ran down to the village. Having grown bored, he shouted, "Wolf! There's a wolf!" Again, the villagers ran to help him, only to be laughed at again.
"Watch it, boy. One day, no one will be here to help you."
The boy laughed and returned to his sheep. Then, one evening, as the sun was setting behind the forest and the shadows were creeping out over the pasture, a wolf really did spring from the underbrush and fall upon the sheep. The boy stood up in fear and excitement, never dreaming anything like this would actually happen. He picked up his staff, but as he thought to run toward the wolf, he noticed just how large it was and was frozen in fear. As his heart raced hearing the bleating of the sheep, he knew he would not be able to get rid of the wolf on his own. In terror, the boy ran toward the village, shouting, "Wolf! There's a wolf! Someone help! The sheep are being attacked!" But though the villagers heard the cry, they did not run to help him as they had before. In fact, they didn't even pay a stone's attention.
"You won't fool us again,"
they said to each other. The boy ran back to the field, gathering as many rocks as he could carry along the way. He shouted and
Shoo!
raged,
Yeah! Off with you! Yeah!
and threw the rocks
Shoo!
at the wolf.
Be off with you, wolf!
After what seemed like hours and hours, the wolf left. The wolf killed a great many of the boy's sheep that night. He looked in sorrow at the destruction left behind and shook his head. If only he had not tricked the villagers so many times, perhaps they would have helped. Perhaps they would have believed him. From that day on, the boy never told another lie ever again.